Hey, Good News family. This is Tonna Heinneman, the host of our Now What podcast. This is where we unpack Sunday's message and we talk about how to practically apply it to our everyday lives. I love that you're here with us, and I love that we get the opportunity to spend more time with our pastors and have them teach us even more what the Word has to say about our everyday lives. We learned from Jesus that one of the best ways to grow is in community together. So join us as we unpack Sunday's message. Hey, Good News family. It's just me today. I know it's kind of weird, right? But I have a reason for it. I have a secret. We're creating a once a quarter Q&A show with our pastors. They don't know about it yet, but I need you to start sending in questions so we can start sorting through them. I need you to send them to podcast@goodnews.church. And if you need to pause the podcast and do it right now before you forget, go do it quick and then come back, because I have something else I want to talk to you about. Today, I really just want to sit around the table, share a cup of coffee with you, and talk quick about this festival we're doing. It is Redemption Festival Week. Just like we see all through the Bible, we are intentionally focusing on remembering all that God has done and celebrating it as one big family. For 8 days in all of our different neighborhoods, our schools, some of us in our cars, at our jobs, all over our city. Some days we're together, some days we're in spirit together, but we're all celebrating the story of God throughout the history of the world down to this very moment and then into the future. Day one was on Sunday, and we kicked it off with our outdoor service. You guys showed up in force. It was literally 1,000 degrees on Sunday, and almost 800 of us were there together to remember what God has done and to celebrate Him out in the streets of our city, and it was so good to be together. I hope you guys had as great a time as I did. I found myself just looking out over the park. Do you ever do that? Just stop when we're in church together and look out over the crowd and think about all the stories that are represented? If you never have, you need to do that this week when we're all together. God is in the miracle working business, and we are a hodgepodge group of people from all different backgrounds and experiences, even different parts of the world. And His story is a part of every one of our stories. How amazing is that? PJ talked on Sunday about the very beginning. Do you remember? We talked about creation. Another question, do you ever stop and think about the reality of a God who so intricately created every single thing? On day one of the festival, we read Psalm 8 in the evening devotional, and in verse 3 it says, "When I look at the night sky and see the works of your fingers, the moon and the stars you set in place." Pause there. How often have you looked up at the sky and you were overwhelmed with how stunning the stars are? Or you stop what you're doing and text someone and tell them to stop what they're doing to go check out the moon? God's creation is stunning. But then go on to finish the sentence there. It said, you set the moon and stars in place. And then verse 4 says, what are mere mortals that you should think about them? Human beings that you should care for them. The same God who made the make you stop what you're doing to look at its sky is the same God who made you and thinks about you. Seriously? And He cares for you. God felt that the world would be incomplete without you in it. He decided there would be a chapter missing of His grand story of the redemption of humanity if you weren't written into the story. You. Do you get that? Like PJ said on Sunday, Genesis 1:26 says He made us in His image. A few weeks ago, we were at a huge outdoor event with thousands of people, and out of nowhere, my 21-year-old son said, man, I really want to know what God looks like, because if we are all made in His image, there are some very unique looking people on the earth. But honestly, you carry something unique of God, an attribute of His that no one else can carry quite like you do, and that certain people will only learn about from God if it comes through you and not me. Again, that is our amazing God. And to think that as we go through this week of remembering, we're going to see how God used everyday, ordinary people who were sinful and very human to keep the story moving forward. And it didn't just stop at the end of the Bible. We're those same people. We're carrying the story now until the final chapters are read. And the people we're going to read about this week who God trusted with His plan to redeem the whole world were excuse makers. They're afraid, sinful, murderers, not good speakers. They made regretful decisions, all the things. They are no different than you and me. But one common thing they had was a pursuit of knowing Him well enough to trust Him. Trusting Him that despite how imperfect they were, His perfection would cover it and His plan would prevail. Our job is to remember, to celebrate what he's been doing for thousands of years and what he keeps doing in and through us, and then tell others about it. I don't know about you, but I don't deserve to be redeemed. I can never live up to that perfectly holy and loving God who's given his everything for me. So the fact that he has saved me and he's rewritten my story makes me so thankful that it just doesn't seem right that I have it and others don't. That is one reason why we have to tell the story. And you, my favorite Good News family, have beautiful stories being written. I wonder if, like me, you sometimes get caught up looking at all of your imperfection, your screw-ups. Maybe you think it's taking you too long to figure it out. You wonder if God is tired of you taking so long to become whoever or whatever you think he's wanting. Our heart for you is that you tell those thoughts to take a back seat. Send them where the sun don't shine, because God's story of redemption is a story of process. It takes time. He's gracious and kind, full of mercy, slow to anger, rich in steadfast love. Does that sound familiar? It's in the back of your redemption devotional. It's part of Psalm 145, verse 8 to be exact. Do you know what steadfast love even means? It means resolutely firm and unwavering. It cannot be shaken. It's not going anywhere. You can't take too long in the process. Now, sure, we can make it longer with our choices, and then we incur the consequences of those choices. But God's not ever going to say, well, you're one day too long, you're out. Nope. His love is steadfast. His mercy is new every morning. Just stop and think about that for just a second. Truly amazing. I hope you get the point. This is what this festival is all about. It isn't too late to start. Go find your book you bought on Sunday, or stop by the church and grab one for $5, or go online to our website, goodnews.church/festival, and start on day one. It doesn't matter when you're listening to this podcast. Just invest 8 days into remembering, celebrating, and get inspired to tell the story, because God is worth it. He is the amazing author, and it's a story of redemption that's worth telling. We love you, church family. We are so proud of all God is doing in and through you. Your faith is growing week by week. We see it. Many of you fasted for the first time ever with us last week. Many of you are trusting the Lord with your finances and your giving. Many are starting to pray for those around the world who don't know him yet. We see so many of you reading your Bibles, changing the way you raise your kids. You're walking away from the patterns you've had in your life, and you're becoming moment by moment more like Jesus. We are all in this together. And like Psalm 145 says, one generation must tell the next of his goodness, that the children coming after us might know his mighty works. And you, my friend, you are a mighty work of God. Thanks for hanging with me this week. I don't want to take any more of your time, because what I really want you to do is go use this time that you'd normally be listening to the podcast and invest it into your festival devotional. Reflect on the verses. Ask yourself the questions and do some of the action steps. Listen to the worship songs on each day too. We will see you this week at our festival events on Tuesday and Thursday, both at 6:30, and our end of the festival meal on Sunday at 5:30. Enjoy celebrating, you guys, and we will chat again next week. Thanks again for joining us today. We would love for you to tell others about the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to it too, because this will help others find out about it. If you missed it before, we love to hear from you. So if you have any stories to tell about how the message impacted you, or maybe you have a question or comment, make sure you email us at podcast@goodnews.church. Y'all, this is my favorite day of the week. So go give away what you just learned, and we'll chat again next time.